remember that day vividly. It started like any other, but it ended up changing everything. Caleb sat across from me at our kitchen table, his eyes avoiding mine as if they were afraid of the truth. I could feel a storm brewing inside me, a mix of dread and anticipation. And then it came. The words that shattered my world. "I'm with someone else." Those words hung in the air like a heavy fog. My heart raced and my stomach twisted into knots. In that moment, I felt as if the ground had opened beneath me, swallowing everything I knew. I wanted to scream, to cry, to throw something at him. But instead, I sat there, frozen, processing the chilling reality of his betrayal. As the shock wore off, something strange happened. I felt a flicker of power rising within me, a small flame igniting in the depths of my despair. Who was I, really? I had lost sight of myself in our life together, consumed by love, by dreams, by everything that now felt so hollow. I was not just a victim. I was a woman, capable of reclaiming my strength. I took a deep breath, feeling the warmth of that flame grow stronger. "You think this will break me, don't you?" I challenged him, my voice steady despite the chaos inside. "You think I'm just going to sit here and let you walk away?" Caleb looked taken aback, his face a mix of confusion and guilt. "Ilara, I didn't want to hurt you, but you did," I interrupted, my voice rising. "You shattered my trust. You broke our vows. You don't get to play the victim here." In that moment, I felt a shift within me. I was done being the woman who stood by silently while her heart was torn apart. I would not let this define me. I would turn my pain into purpose. I vowed to reclaim my identity, to become stronger than I had ever been. I thought about the woman I used to be, the one who laughed easily, who danced in the kitchen while cooking, who believed in the fairy tale. Where had she gone? The betrayal threatened to erase her completely, but I realized I had the power to bring her back. I wanted to be her again, but this time, I would be wiser, tougher. As I stared at Caleb, the reality of his betrayal clicking into place, I felt a surge of determination. "I will not let you take my happiness," I said, my voice firm. "I will find my way back to myself, with or without you." Caleb's expression turned to one of regret, but it was too late for apologies. He had made his choice, and now I had to make mine. I watched as he turned away, his shoulders slumping in defeat. The sight gave me a strange satisfaction. I was no longer the one looking up to him. I stood up, feeling a rush of adrenaline. "You think you can just walk away and leave me broken? No. I will rise from this. I will be stronger, and you will see." That night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing. I thought about what I wanted, what I deserved. I could either drown in sorrow or fight back. I was tired of feeling powerless. The choice was clear. I closed my eyes, envisioning the woman I wanted to become. I would not just heal, I would thrive. This was my moment of reckoning, my chance to turn my life around. I felt empowered, ready to embrace whatever came next. This was the beginning of my journey, and I would not let fear hold me back. With the dawn of a new day, I would rise, ready to reclaim my life and reshape my future. I would no longer be defined by Caleb's choices or my past. I was Ilara, and I was ready to take control. I stood by the window, watching the world outside as if it were a movie playing on repeat. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows that matched the heaviness in my heart. Caleb and Lynette walked hand in hand, their laughter echoing through the air. Each chuckle felt like a knife twisting in my chest. I thought about the promise we made, the plans we had, now shattered by his betrayal. "Look at them," I whispered to myself, a mix of sadness and resolve washing over me. How could he do this to me? But deep down, I knew I had to turn this pain into something else. I couldn't just stand there and let my life slip away. I had to act. With each passing day, I watched their interactions closely. I noticed the way Caleb looked at her, the way he smiled. It made me sick, but I also felt a spark of determination igniting within me. This wasn't just about revenge, it was about reclaiming my power. I imagined myself as a spider, weaving a web of deceit around them, ready to trap them in their lies. I took a deep breath and pulled out my phone. The screen glowed in the dim light, and I typed a message to Lynette. "Hey, I think you should know something about Caleb. He's not who you think he is." I hesitated before hitting send, a mix of fear and excitement coursing through me. What would happen next? My heart raced as I hit the button, a thrill surged through me, one I hadn't felt in a long time. I was finally taking charge, fighting back in my own way. But then the doubt crept in. Was this the right thing to do? I battled with my feelings. Part of me relished the idea of revenge, while another part felt the sting of betrayal all over again. Days turned into weeks, and each time I sent a message, I felt both empowered and guilty. I watched as Lynette's demeanor changed. She would look at Caleb differently, her smile fading, replaced by questions. I could see the seed I planted taking root, and it filled me with a mix of satisfaction and dread. One evening, I found myself at a coffee shop, idly stirring my drink while glancing at Caleb and Lynette across the street. They were sitting at a small table, their heads bent close together. I could hear snippets of their conversation, Caleb's voice bubbling with excitement as he spoke about some recent achievement. "Can you believe it, Lynette? I've been working so hard, and it finally paid off." Oh, his pride was evident, but all I could think about was how he was basking in the glory of something he didn't deserve. Lynette's expression was a mix of admiration and uncertainty. "That's great, Caleb, but have you told Alara about it?" The mention of my name was like a punch to the gut. Did she know? Was she starting to connect the dots? I leaned back in my chair, my heart racing. I wanted to jump up and confront them, to scream that he was a liar, but I held back. This was my plan, and I had to see it through. I was the one pulling the strings now. As they continued their conversation, I felt the thrill of anticipation building inside me. The moment of confrontation was coming, and I could almost taste it. But with each message I sent, I also felt a piece of my heart breaking. Was I really capable of this? Was it worth it? "What have I become?" I whispered to myself, the weight of my actions crashing down. I was walking a fine line between vengeance and healing, and sometimes I found it hard to tell which side I was truly on. I left the cafe that night, my mind swirling with conflicting thoughts. I was determined to see this through, but the pain of my own betrayal lingered like a shadow. As I stepped into the cool night air, I vowed to myself that I would find a way to reclaim my strength, no matter the cost. The web was being woven, and I was both the spider and the fly, caught in my own creation. The tension in my chest grew stronger with each passing day. Watching Caleb and Lynette together felt like a slow burn, igniting the anger and sadness that I had tried so hard to control. Each message I sent to her was a thread in the web I was weaving, pulling her closer to the truth, while Caleb remained blissfully unaware of the storm brewing around him. It was on a Thursday evening when everything came to a head. I sat at a small table in the corner of the restaurant, my fingers trembling slightly as I watched Caleb, laughing with Lynette across the room. He looked so confident, so full of himself. He was talking about his recent promotion, his voice booming with pride. I hated him for it. "Did you hear what I just did at work?" Caleb said, his smile stretching wide. "I managed to close that huge deal. It's a game changer for us." Lynette smiled, her eyes shining with admiration. "That's amazing, Caleb. I always knew you could do it." I felt a mix of rage and satisfaction. This was the same man who had shattered my heart, yet here he was, basking in the glow of someone else's praise. And I was the one pulling the strings. As I watched, A part of me wished to shout out, to reveal the truth in that moment. But I held back, savoring the tension that built around me. The anticipation was intoxicating. I had become the spider, and Caleb was my unsuspecting fly. The evening reached its peak when Lynette finally confronted him. I could see the shift in her demeanor as she turned serious. She leaned in closer, her voice low but firm. "Caleb, is there something you need to tell me?" My heart raced. This was it. Caleb looked puzzled, his brow furrowing. "What do you mean?" "Don't play dumb with me," she said, her voice rising slightly. "I've been hearing things. Things I don't want to believe, but..." I could hardly breathe as I watched. Caleb's face turned pale, confusion painted across his features. "What are you talking about?" Lynette's eyes narrowed. "I've received some messages, Ilara's messages. They make me question your honesty. Are you with her? Was it all a lie?" The tension in the air felt electric. I could almost taste the humiliation that was coming for him. My heart pounded in my chest, a wild mix of excitement and dread. Caleb's mouth dropped open, but no words came out. He looked around, as if searching for an escape. "Lynette, listen." "Stop, just stop," Lynette interrupted, her voice shaking. "If you care about me, just tell me the truth." I leaned closer, my breath shallow, waiting for his answer. I wanted him to feel the weight of his lies, to understand the pain he had caused me. Okay, he stammered, his hands raised in defeat. "I did see Ilara, but it was over a long time ago. It didn't mean anything." Lynette's expression shifted from anger to disbelief. "You think that makes it better? You think that justifies lying to me?" I felt a rush of power surging through me. This was my moment, the moment where I could watch him squirm under the weight of his own deceit. I wanted to laugh, to shout out that I was the one pulling the strings, but I stayed silent, hidden in the shadows. As Lynette continued to confront him, I could see the cracks in Caleb's facade begin to show. The bravado, the confidence, it was all crumbling. Part of me felt vindicated, another part felt a strange twinge of sorrow. I had wanted this moment for so long, but now that it was happening, I found myself grappling with my own feelings. Did I want him to suffer, or was I simply enjoying the power I had over him? As I slipped out of the restaurant, my heart was a chaotic symphony of emotions. I had orchestrated this confrontation, but at what cost? The thrill of revenge had become a double-edged sword, cutting through my own heart as much as his. I didn't know how to feel anymore, but one thing was clear. I was no longer the woman I used to be. I was becoming something different, something stronger, and I was just getting started. Caleb sat on the sofa, his head buried in his hands. The room was silent, except for the occasional sniffle that escaped him. I stood in the doorway, my heart pounding in my chest. Part of me wanted to rush in and comfort him, while another part relished the sight of his despair. "Why did you do it, Caleb?" I finally asked, my voice steady despite the chaos inside me. He looked up, his eyes red and puffy. "I don't know, Ilara. I messed up. I thought I could handle it." I crossed my arms, feeling a mix of pity and vindication. "Handle what? Lying to me? Betraying everything we built together?" Each word felt heavy, yet they brought me a strange sense of power. "I didn't mean to hurt you," he said, his voice cracking. "Lynette, she just happened. It was a mistake." "A mistake?" I echoed, incredulous. "You think that's all it is? You broke my heart, Caleb. You shattered my trust." He rose from the sofa, his expression shifting from despair to desperation. "What do you want me to say? I'm sorry? I want to fix this." "Fix it?" I laughed bitterly. "You can't fix what's broken. You've made your choice, and I refuse to be the fool who takes you back." As I watched him, I felt the weight of our shared history pressing down on me. Memories flooded my mind, our laughter, our dreams, the love we once had. But they were now tarnished by betrayal. How could I reconcile the person I once loved with the man who stood before me, broken and remorseful? I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but please, just listen to me. His voice was pleading as he took a step closer. Listen to what? More excuses? More lies? My heart raced, torn between the compassion I felt and the desire for revenge that had fueled me for weeks. You had your chance, Caleb. You threw it away. He sank back onto the sofa, defeated. I never wanted to lose you. I never wanted any of this. Then why did you do it? I pressed, my resolve wavering. Why did you think it was okay to betray me? He looked up at me, his eyes shimmering with unshed tears. I was scared of being vulnerable, of letting you see me fail. I thought being with Lynette would be easier. I shook my head, my emotions a tangled mess. Easier? You chose the easy way out, and now look where it's got you, alone and miserable. The truth hit me like a wave. I had spent so long plotting my revenge, wrapping myself in the thrill of watching him squirm. But now, here he was, broken in front of me. I faced a moral dilemma. Should I show him compassion in this moment of weakness? Or should I stick to my plan and let him suffer? Caleb, My voice faltered. I had to make a choice. I could feel the old Alara battling with the new one I was trying to become. I can change, Alara. I will do anything to win you back, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Change doesn't come from words, Caleb. It comes from actions. I took a deep breath, the weight of my decision pressing heavily on my chest. But I can't be the one to teach you that. I need to focus on myself now. As I turned to leave, I felt a newfound strength surging within me. I was reclaiming my identity, my worth, and my power. The pain of betrayal was still there, but it was no longer the only thing that defined me. Wait, Caleb called after me, desperation in his voice. Please don't go. I paused at the door, looking back at the man I once loved. You need to face your mistakes alone, Caleb. I won't be your safety net anymore. With that, I walked away, each step feeling lighter. I had made my choice, reinforcing my journey of self-discovery. I was no longer just a betrayed wife. I was Alara, a woman learning to rise from the ashes of her past. As the dust settled after Caleb's confrontation with Lynette, I felt an unexpected heaviness in my chest. The storm of emotions inside me was still swirling, but there was a new clarity emerging. I could almost hear the echoes of their argument, the sharp words cutting through the silence of my thoughts. Caleb's voice, filled with panic, still rang in my ears. You don't understand. It's not what you think. But Lynette's response was firm. You lied to me, Caleb. You don't get to keep doing this. I had watched it all unfold, heart racing as the reality of our shattered world took shape. This was the moment I had envisioned, the moment that marked the beginning of Caleb's downfall. Yet, as I stood there, I realized that what I had thought would bring me satisfaction was now just a heavy weight on my shoulders. Why do I feel so empty? I whispered to myself, staring at the blank wall of my living room. I had been so focused on revenge that I hadn't considered how hollow it would feel in the end. It was time to redirect my energy, time to heal. I took a deep breath and made a choice. I need to focus on me. The first step was simple but significant. I began to fill my days with self-care rituals, things I had neglected while wrapped up in my pain. I started with small things, a warm bath, reading a book I had long wanted to dive into, and cooking meals that made me feel good. Each action was a reminder that I existed outside of Caleb's shadow. One evening, I found myself sitting on my balcony, watching the sun dip below the horizon. The sky, painted with hues of orange and purple, reminded me of the happier times with Caleb. I remembered our laughter and the way he would tease me about my terrible cooking. But those memories felt different now, bittersweet. I could feel the warmth of those moments mingling with the bitterness of betrayal. "Why did I let it go on for so long?" I asked into the twilight, my voice barely above a whisper. I realized I had lost sight of my own worth. I had let his lies define me. But I made a promise to myself that night. I would reclaim my identity. I would no longer be the betrayed wife. I would be Alara, strong and free. The next day, I gathered my thoughts in a journal. Writing became a form of therapy for me, a way to process everything I had been through. I poured out my feelings, my fears, and my hopes. "I am not defined by Caleb's actions," I wrote. "I am stronger than the pain he caused." With each stroke of the pen, I felt a little lighter, a little more in control of my life. "Hey, are you okay?" my friend Mia asked one afternoon as we sipped coffee at our favorite cafe. Her eyes were filled with concern, and I appreciated her support. "I think I am," I replied, surprising myself. "I'm starting to focus on what I want, not what he did to me." Mia smiled, her relief evident. "That's great to hear. You deserve to be happy, Alara. It's time to put yourself first." Her words resonated deeply within me. I realized that my healing was not just about moving on from Caleb. It was about rediscovering who I was without him. I started to explore new hobbies, painting, yoga, and even taking a dance class. Each new experience filled me with a sense of liberation. As the weeks passed, the fog of betrayal began to lift. I found myself smiling more, laughing more, and even dreaming about the future again. I was shedding the identity of the betrayed wife, slowly crafting a new version of myself. One quiet evening, I stood in front of the mirror, looking at the woman staring back at me. "You are enough," I whispered, feeling a spark of confidence ignite within me. I was no longer just a victim of circumstance. I was a survivor, ready to embrace life on my terms. The transformation was gradual, but it felt real and profound. I was reclaiming my life, piece by piece, moment by moment, and in that process, I found a strength I never knew I had. The aftermath of betrayal was painful, but it was also the beginning of something beautiful, my journey to rediscover myself. As I stood in front of the mirror, I barely recognized the woman staring back at me. The pain from Caleb's betrayal had shaped me, but it no longer defined me. I felt a spark of something powerful, self-love. I had spent too long letting others dictate my worth. Now, I was ready to embrace my independence. I took a deep breath and thought about what I needed to do next. It was time for one last confrontation with Caleb, not out of anger or revenge, but to assert my strength. I wanted him to know that I was no longer the woman he could manipulate. I wanted to reclaim my voice. The day came when I decided to face him. I texted Caleb, "Can we talk? Just us." I felt a rush of nerves as I pressed send. A part of me wanted to run, to hide from what was about to unfold. But I reminded myself of all the growth I had experienced. I was not the same woman who once cried over him. I was stronger now. When he arrived, I felt a mix of emotions. I saw the man I once loved, but I also saw the man who shattered my heart. "Alara," he said, his voice laced with surprise. "I didn't think you wanted to see me again." "I didn't," I replied, my voice steady. "But I need you to hear me out. This isn't about revenge or anger. This is about me finding my voice." Caleb looked taken aback. "What do you mean?" I took a moment to gather my thoughts. "I have spent too long letting your actions define my happiness. You betrayed me, and for a while, I let that define who I am. But I won't do that anymore." He opened his mouth, but I raised my hand to stop him. "I need you to listen. I am reclaiming my life. I am not the girl who sits and waits for a text. I am not the girl who will allow your choices to dictate my worth." Caleb shifted uncomfortably, and I noticed a flicker of regret in his eyes. "I never meant to hurt you, Alara. I thought you would understand." "Understand?" I interrupted, feeling the fire rise within me. "You thought I would just accept your betrayal and move on? I deserve better than that. I deserve to be loved fully, not as a second choice." Caleb looked down, and for a moment, I thought I saw him truly see me. "I'm sorry," he said softly. "I was selfish." "Yes, you were," I replied, my heart racing. "But this is not about you feeling sorry for yourself. This is about me standing up for what I deserve. I want you to know that I am moving on. I am choosing myself." He finally met my gaze, and I saw a mix of emotions on his face: surprise, regret, and maybe even a hint of admiration. "I don't know what to say," he said quietly. "You don't have to say anything," I replied. "Just know that I am no longer waiting for you. I am moving forward, and I hope you find what you're looking for. Just know that it won't be with me." As I walked away from our conversation, I felt lighter. I had faced the man who had caused me so much pain, not with the intention of revenge, but with the purpose of reclaiming my strength. The echo of vengeance had transformed into a lesson of self-worth. With every step I took, I felt more empowered. I was ready for whatever came next. I embraced the future, filled with hope and determination. My pain had led me to this beautiful new beginning, and I was excited to see where it would take me. No longer would I let someone else's choices dictate my happiness. I was Alara, and I was ready to rise anew. Share this story if you believe that self-love and empowerment can triumph over betrayal. Leave a comment about a moment when you reclaimed your voice and how it changed your life. Don't forget to subscribe for more inspiring stories like this one.